Ambassador Elena Vasquez walked into the main chamber of the Galactic Council station. Her boots made soft sounds on the smooth metal floor. Around her, 47 different alien species sat in tall chairs that looked down at the center of the room where she stood. The air smelled clean and cold like a hospital. Everything was white and silver and perfect. Elena had been to this place many times before. She had made deals here. She had signed papers that helped humans trade with other worlds. She had made friends with some of the aliens who sat above her now. But today was different. Today, none of them would look at her with friendly eyes. The Zephyrian ambassador stood up first. His long, thin body moved like water as he unfolded to his full height of 8 feet. His skin was pale blue and smooth, without any scars or marks. Like all his people, he looked perfect and clean. He held a datapad in his 4-fingered hands. "We are here today to discuss the crimes of humanity," the Zephyrian said. His voice was soft and musical, but the words were hard. During the recent conflict on the border world of Zarian 7, human forces broke every rule of civilized warfare. Elena kept her face calm, but inside she felt angry. The Zarian 7 conflict had started when Zephyrian ships attacked a human mining station without warning. 37 humans had died in that first attack, including children. But she said nothing and waited. The Altarian representative spoke next. She was small and round, with fur that sparkled in the chamber's lights. Her people were known for being fair and wise. That made her words hurt more. "We have video evidence," the Altarian said. "Human soldiers used weapons made from scrap metal and broken ship parts. They fought in areas with poison gas and deadly radiation. They continued to fight even when their defeat was certain. This is not how civilized beings conduct war." More voices joined in. The tall, plant-like Verdani spoke about how humans had used fire as a weapon, burning their sacred groves. The crystal beings from the Nexus cluster complained that humans had broken their beautiful formations to make barricades. Each species had something to say about human brutality. Elena listened to it all. She remembered Zarian 7 very differently. She remembered human families running from Zephyrian attack ships. She remembered brave men and women who used whatever they could find to protect their homes. She remembered soldiers who fought to the end because surrender meant death for everyone they loved. "The evidence is clear," said the council speaker, a being so old that no one remembered what species it came from. Its body was more machine than flesh now, tubes and wires keeping it alive. "Humanity has failed to evolve beyond its primitive nature. You are still the violent predators you were on your Deathworld." Elena had heard this before. Earth was what they called a Deathworld, a planet so dangerous that most aliens could not survive there for even a day. Humans were the only species that had evolved on such a harsh world. The council liked to remind them of this fact. "We have tried to help you," the speaker continued. "We gave you technology. We taught you our ways of peace. We welcomed you into our community. But you cannot change what you are." The chamber fell silent. Elena could hear the soft hum of the station's air systems. She could feel the eyes of 47 species looking down at her. She was alone here, the only human among thousands of aliens who had already decided her fate. "The Galactic Council finds humanity guilty of war crimes," the speaker announced. "You are hereby expelled from this body. All trade agreements are cancelled. All treaties are void. You are banned from settling any world within council space." Elena was not surprised. She had seen this coming for months. The other species had always been uncomfortable with humans. They lived on worlds with perfect weather and gentle gravity. They had evolved past the need for violence. They saw humans as relics from a more brutal time. Furthermore, the speaker sighed, all human colonies within council space must be abandoned within 1 standard year. You will return to your home system and stay there. Any human ships found outside Sol System after that time will be destroyed. Now, Elena felt real anger. They were not just kicking humans out of their club. They were trying to lock them in a cage. Sol System had only one habitable world, Earth. It could not hold all of humanity. Billions of humans lived on colony worlds. Scattered across the galaxy, where would they go? The Zephyrian ambassador smiled. It was a cold expression on his perfect face. Perhaps this will teach your species some humility. You came from a death world, and now you can return to it. Elena looked around the chamber one more time. She saw beings she had thought were friends. She saw species that humans had helped during famines and disasters. She saw the representatives of worlds that had grown rich from human trade. None of them spoke up for humanity now. I have something to say, Elena announced. The speaker made a dismissive gesture with one mechanical hand. You have no voice here anymore, human. The decision is final. Then I speak as a free citizen of a free species, Elena said, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber. You judge us for being what we are. You call us primitive and violent. You say we cannot change. She took a step forward, looking up at the rows of alien faces. But we never wanted to change, she continued. We are proud of what we are. We survived on a world that would kill any of you in minutes. We learned to fight because everything on our world wanted to eat us. We became strong because weak things died young on Earth. Some of the aliens shifted uncomfortably in their seats. They did not like to be reminded that humans were different from them. You live on garden worlds with perfect weather, Elena said. You have never known hunger or cold or fear. You think that makes you better than us, but it just makes you soft. The Verdani representative's leaves rustled with annoyance. This is exactly what we mean. You celebrate violence and suffering. We celebrate survival, Elena shot back. We celebrate the strength to keep fighting when everything looks hopeless. You would not understand. None of you would. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Several representatives demanded that Elena be removed, but the speaker raised a hand for silence. Let her finish, the ancient being said. These may be the last words humanity speaks in this chamber. Elena nodded. You think you are punishing us by sending us away. You think we will beg to come back. You think we need you. She smiled, and there was something in that smile that made several aliens lean back in their chairs. But you are wrong, she said. We do not need your perfect worlds or your safe spaces. We are humans. We make our own way. We always have. Elena turned and began walking toward the chamber's exit. Her footsteps echoed in the sudden silence. You have made a grave mistake today, she called back without turning around. We did not become the apex predators of a death world by following your rules. And now you have reminded us that we do not have to. The chamber doors closed behind her with a soft hiss. Elena walked down the bright, clean corridors of the council station, past aliens who stared at her with curious or hostile eyes. She felt lighter with each step, as if a great weight had been lifted from her shoulders. By the time she reached her ship, Elena was already planning humanity's next move. The council thought they had won. They thought they had put the dangerous humans back in their place. But they had no idea what they had just unleashed. As her ship pulled away from the station, Elena sent a single message back to Earth. Time to go home. Time to show them what humans can really do. 3 months had passed since the Galactic Council threw humanity out. The alien leaders expected to see human ships returning to their space within weeks. They thought humans would come back begging for forgiveness. They thought wrong. Captain Marcus Chain stood on the bridge of the massive ship called Defiance. It was the largest vessel in the human fleet, built from 3 old cargo haulers welded together. The ship was not pretty like the smooth council vessels. It was rough and patched. And functional. Just like the humans who built it. Marcus looked out at the fleet around him. Hundreds of ships filled the space near Earth. Colony ships, cargo haulers, military vessels, and even converted passenger liners. Every ship was packed with people and supplies. Some families had lived on distant worlds for generations. Now, they were all coming home, but only to leave again. Sir, we have confirmation from the outer colonies, reported Lieutenant Sarah Park from her station. New Shanghai has completed evacuation. Harmony Station is loading the last transport now. Everyone is following the plan. Marcus nodded. The plan was simple, but huge. Humanity would abandon every world within council space, all of them. Not because they had to, but because they chose to. Let the council have their perfect, safe worlds. Humans would find better places. What about the industrial stations? Marcus asked. Stripped down to the hull plating, Sarah answered. We took everything that could be moved. Factories, refineries, even the hydroponic farms. If we built it, we took it with us. The door to the bridge opened and Elena Vasquez walked in. She had been working without rest for 3 months, organizing the largest movement of people in human history. She looked tired but determined. The last transport just left council space, she announced. 12 billion humans are now homeless but free. Marcus felt a mix of pride and worry. 12 billion people needed new homes. Earth could not hold them all. The colony worlds in human space were already crowded. They needed to find new places to live, and fast. Where are we going, Elena? Marcus asked. We cannot all stay in Sol System. Elena smiled. It was the first real smile Marcus had seen from her in months. She walked to the navigation display and pointed to a section of the galaxy that glowed red on the screen. There, she said, the dead zones. Marcus stared at the display. The dead zones were regions of space that the Council had marked as uninhabitable. Worlds with too much radiation, too many storms, too much gravity, or too little atmosphere. Places where civilized species could not survive. Elena, those worlds will kill us, Lieutenant Park said from her station. Will they? Elena asked. The Council thinks so, but they have never tried to live there. They just ran their safe little scans from orbit and decided those worlds were too dangerous. She touched the screen and brought up detailed information about one particular world. The data made Marcus wince. Constant electrical storms. Surface radiation levels 50 times higher than Earth normal. Gravity twice what humans were used. 2. Temperatures that swung from boiling to freezing every few hours. This is Kepler 438b, Elena said. The Council classified it as Class 5 uninhabitable. No species has ever tried to land there, because they would die, Sarah said. They would die, Elena agreed, but we might not. We evolved on a Deathworld. Remember, maybe it is time we found another one. Marcus understood what Elena was thinking. Earth had trained humans to survive in harsh conditions. Hot deserts, frozen tundra, poisonous swamps, thin mountain air. Humans had learned to live in places that would kill most other species. Maybe they could do it again. Even if we can survive there, Marcus said, what would be the point? Those worlds have nothing valuable. Elena's smile grew wider. According to the Council's scans, you mean? But the Council only looks for things they can use. They need perfect conditions for their perfect lives. They would not recognize value in a harsh world even if it bit them. She brought up more data on the screen. This time it showed what human deep space probes had found in the dead zones. The information was very different from the Council's reports. Look. At this, Elena said, pointing to mineral surveys. Kepler 438b has rare Earth elements in concentrations we have never seen before. The constant storms generate massive amounts of free energy. The radiation creates unique crystal formations that could power our ships for centuries. Marcus leaned forward to study the data. This cannot be right. If these worlds are so rich in resources, why did the Council mark them as worthless? Because they cannot use them, Elena explained. The Council species need clean air and gentle gravity and stable weather. They cannot build cities in radiation storms or mine crystals in boiling acid rain. So they pretend those resources do not exist. Lieutenant Park looked up from her station. Are you saying we should colonize worlds that would kill normal people? We are not normal people, Elena replied. We are humans. We are the species that looked at a world full of predators and poison and decided to make it home. We are the species that built cities in deserts and on frozen mountains and floating on the ocean. Marcus felt something stirring in his chest. It was the same feeling he had gotten as a child when he read stories about the first human explorers. The ones who sailed across unknown oceans or climbed impossible mountains just to see what was on the other side. How many worlds are we talking about? He asked. Elena gestured to the red zones on the display. Thousands. Maybe tens of thousands. Every world the council was too afraid to explore. Every planet they marked as a dead end. She turned to face the rest of the bridge crew. We can spread across the galaxy like no species ever has. While they fight over a few hundred garden worlds, we can claim thousands of death worlds. We can build an empire in places where no one else can follow. Marcus thought about it. The plan was crazy and dangerous and would probably kill a lot of people. It was also brilliant. Humans would not just survive being thrown out of council. Space. They would thrive in places the council could not even imagine living. What do we need to make this work? Marcus asked. Time, mostly, Elena said, and the willingness to adapt. Some of these worlds will change us. We might need to modify our bodies to handle the radiation or the gravity or the atmosphere. We might end up looking different from the humans who stay on Earth. Different how? Elena shrugged. Stronger bones for high-gravity worlds. Better radiation resistance for the storm planets. Enhanced lungs for thin atmospheres. We have the technology to make these changes safely, Marcus nodded slowly. Humans had been genetically modifying themselves for centuries. Usually just small changes to prevent disease or improve health, but this would be different. This would be changing themselves to live in places that would kill unmodified humans. The Council will not like it when they find out what we are doing, Lieutenant Park said. The Council threw us out, Elena replied. They gave up any right to tell us where we can go or what we can do. Besides, by the time they realize what is happening, it will be too late to stop us. Marcus made his decision. Set course for Kepler 438b. Send the signal to all ships. We are going to claim our first death world. Yes, sir, Sarah said, her fingers flying over her controls. All ships report ready to jump. Estimated travel time is 6 days. Elena watched the fleet begin to move. On the display screen, hundreds of ships filled with billions of humans, all heading toward a world that would probably try to kill them. It should have been terrifying. Instead, it felt like coming alive. You know what the best part is? Elena said to Marcus as they watched the stars begin to move past them. What? The Council thinks they have gotten rid of their human problem. They think we will hide in our home system and eventually fade away. They have no idea that they just gave us access to half the galaxy, Marcus smiled. They are going to be very surprised. Yes, Elena agreed, they are. 5 years had passed since the human fleet first landed on Kepler 438b. The world now had a new name that the colonists called it, New Sparta. The name fit the harsh reality of life there. Commander Lisa Shun, Marcus's younger sister, stood on the observation deck of Underground City 1. Through the thick radiation-proof glass, she could see the surface of their new home. Lightning crashed down from purple clouds every few seconds. The ground glowed with veins of radioactive crystal that pulsed like a heartbeat. Winds strong enough to tear apart buildings howled across the jagged landscape. It was beautiful in a deadly way. Lisa had grown to love it. Another storm coming in from the east, reported Dr. James Murphy, the colony's chief scientist. His skin had a slight glow to it now, a side effect of the radiation treatments that let humans work on the surface. This one looks big. The energy collectors should get a full charge. Lisa nodded. The storms had been their first major challenge. When they arrived, the lightning was so powerful it could melt metal and kill anyone caught in the open. But humans had learned to work with the storms instead of against them. They built huge collectors that caught the lightning and turned it into power for their underground cities. How many people are working the storm tonight? Lisa asked. 43 storm riders, Murphy replied. All volunteers. They will be riding the electromagnetic currents to reach the floating lithium deposits. Lisa watched through the glass as small figures in special suits launched themselves into the storm. They used magnetic fields to surf the lightning between floating chunks of pure lithium that drifted in the planet's charged atmosphere. It was dangerous work, but it paid well. The lithium they collected was worth more than gold back in human space. The Storm Riders had been another adaptation. Normal humans could not survive in the planet's electromagnetic field. But humans who had been treated with specially designed nano-machines could not only survive in the storms, they could use them to fly. The first Storm Rider had discovered this by accident when his safety cable broke during a mining operation. Instead of falling to his death, he found himself riding the lightning like a wave. Status report from the other colonies? Lisa asked. Murphy brought up a holographic display, showing human settlements across the dead zones. The information would have amazed the Galactic Council if they could see it. Humans were not just surviving on Deathworlds. They were building a civilization. Proxima Base reports successful mining operations in the Crystal Caves, Murphy read from his datapad. They extracted enough power crystals this month to fuel our entire fleet for a year. The tidally locked world of Proxima Centauri C was supposed to be uninhabitable because one side was always day and one side was always night, but humans had built their cities in the twilight zone between the two sides. They used the temperature difference between the hot and cold sides to power massive industrial complexes. What about the water world? Lisa asked. K218b is exceeding all expectations, Murphy said with excitement in his voice. The floating cities are now home to 3 million people. They are harvesting methane from the oceans and turning it into fuel. The gas they collect in one day could power a council world for a month, Lisa smiled. K218b had been classified as uninhabitable because it was covered in oceans of liquid methane at temperatures that would freeze most species solid. But humans had learned to live on floating platforms that moved with the methane tides. They wore special suits that kept them warm and let them breathe underwater. Some had even modified their bodies to swim in the freezing methane seas. And, the radiation miners? Murphy's expression grew more serious. Still working the galactic core region. We lost contact with mining Platform 7 3 days ago, but Platform 8 found them this morning. They were fine, just working too deep in the radiation field for our communications to reach them. Lisa shook her head in amazement. The galactic core was so full of deadly radiation that even council probes failed within hours of entering the region. But humans had found ways to work there. They wore suits that absorbed radiation instead of blocking it, turning the deadly energy into power for their equipment. Some miners had even modified their bodies to process radiation like food. How many people have chosen permanent adaptation? Lisa asked. About 30% of the colonists, Murphy replied. Most choose minor modifications like radiation resistance or enhanced bone density, but some go further. Lisa knew what he meant. She had seen humans who had adapted so completely to their new worlds that they barely looked human anymore. On the high-gravity world of Volf 359c, some colonists had modified their bodies to be shorter and stronger, with bones like metal and muscles that could lift 10 times their body weight. On the gas giant moons, others had grown gills to breathe, the methane atmosphere, and webbed fingers to swim through the dense gases. The council would probably consider these adapted humans to be monsters. But Lisa saw them as the future. Each world they colonized changed them in new ways, making them better suited to survive in places no other species could imagine living. Incoming transmission from Earth, announced the communications officer, Lisa. Turned to the main screen as President Sarah Martinez appeared. She looked older than when Lisa had last seen her, but her eyes were bright with excitement. Greetings from Earth, the president said. I have news that you need to hear. Our deep space scouts have made contact with 3 new species beyond the dead zones. All of them are willing to trade with us. This was huge news. For 5 years, humans had been completely cut off from galactic trade. The Council had made sure that no species would buy from or sell to humans. But now they had found new trading partners. These species live in regions even more dangerous than the dead zones, the president continued. They have been isolated for centuries because no Council species could reach them. But our adapted humans can travel through the radiation fields. and energy storms that cut them off from the rest of the galaxy. Lisa felt a thrill of pride. Humans were not just surviving in the harshest parts of the galaxy. They were becoming the bridge between isolated civilizations and the wider universe. There is more, the president said. Our economists estimate that the resources we now control are worth more than the entire council economy. The rare elements, energy sources, and unique materials we have access to cannot be found anywhere else. Murphy whistled softly. We went from being the galaxy's outcasts to being its richest species in 5 years. The president's image leaned forward on the screen. But the most important news is this. Council intelligence reports indicate they are beginning to panic. They are losing access to resources they need, and their long-range sensors are detecting human activity in regions they thought were empty space. Lisa could imagine the Council's confusion. For thousands of years, they had mapped the galaxy based on what was safe for their species. They had marked huge regions as dead space because they could not survive there. Now they were discovering that those dead regions were full of human activity. They are also detecting something else, the president continued. Ships, lots of ships, human vessels moving freely through the galactic core, traveling routes that should be impossible. This was true. Human ships now used radiation fields as highways, surfing energy storms to move faster than any council vessel could travel. They had learned to navigate by following magnetic field lines and using gravity wells as accelerators. What the council saw as barriers, humans used as tools. Final piece of intelligence, the president said. There are reports of council colonies losing contact with their homeworlds. Not destroyed, just abandoned. The populations are leaving, but no one knows where they are going. Lisa exchanged a look with Murphy. They both suspected where those populations were going. Word was spreading about the humans who could take people to places the council could not follow. Some aliens were beginning to choose exile with humans over safety with the council. The situation is changing faster than anyone expected, the president concluded. Stay alert, stay strong, and remember, we are not just survivors anymore. We are the pioneers of a new age. The transmission ended, leaving the observation deck in thoughtful silence. Lisa looked out at the storm again, watching the lightning dance between the floating islands of lithium. 5 years ago, this world had been marked as a death trap. Now it was home to millions of humans who had learned to thrive in conditions that would kill most life in the galaxy. Sir, the communications officer called out. We are receiving a transmission from the edge of the system. Unknown ship requesting permission to land. Lisa turned. Council ship? No, sir. The design is completely unknown. But they are broadcasting in standard galactic trade language, Lisa smiled. Another new species probably drawn by stories of the humans who could live anywhere and trade, in places others could not reach. The galaxy was much larger than the Council had ever imagined, and humans were becoming the key to unlocking its secrets. Give them permission to land, she said. Let us see what our new neighbors have to offer. Admiral HFY of the Zephyrian Empire stood in his command center, staring at reports that made no sense. His pale blue hands shook as he read the data again. 3 more colonies had gone silent in the past month, not destroyed. Not conquered. Just empty? Show me the security footage from Kepler 293. He ordered his aide. The holographic display flickered to life, showing the mining colony on the edge of Zephyrian space. For the first few hours, everything looked normal. Zephyrian workers moved between the buildings in their environmental suits. The mining equipment operated smoothly under the colony's protective dome. Then the humans appeared. They came out of the darkness between the stars, moving without ships or vehicles. At first, HFY thought his eyes were playing tricks on him, but as he watched more carefully, he could see them clearly. Humans in strange suits that seemed to glow with their own light, walking through the vacuum of space as if it was air. How is this possible? HFY whispered. The humans on the screen moved with purpose. They did not attack the colony or break anything. Instead, they seemed to be talking to the Zephyrian workers. Within hours, the entire population was packing their belongings and following the humans into the void. "Sir," his aide said nervously, "we have analyzed the suits the humans were wearing. They appear to absorb radiation and convert it into life support. The humans are literally feeding off the energy of space itself." Zexai felt cold fear in his stomach. The Zephyrians were an advanced species. They had been exploring space for thousands of years, but they had never seen anything like this. Humans were surviving in conditions that would kill any known life form within seconds. Where did they go? He asked. "Unknown, sir. Our sensors lost track of them as soon as they entered the radiation field around the dead star in the system. No ship can survive in those conditions." But humans could, apparently. Zexai had read the intelligence reports about human colonies in the dead zones. At first, the Zephyrian government had dismissed them as impossible. Now, he was beginning to understand that humans had evolved far beyond what anyone had imagined. The door to the command center opened and General Mordek entered. The old soldier looked grim as he approached Zexai's position. "Admiral, we have a problem," the general said. "A big one. Bigger than losing 3 colonies to humans who walk through space? Much bigger." Mordek activated another display showing a map of the galaxy. Red markers indicated missing colonies and lost contact zones. There were hundreds of them, scattered across council space. "It is not just us," Mordek explained. "Every council species is reporting the same thing. Colonies going dark, populations vanishing, resources disappearing. And in every case, the last thing anyone sees is humans." Zexai studied the map. The pattern was clear once you knew what to look for. The humans were systematically cutting off the Council's access to key resources and strategic locations. "They are isolating us," he realized, "making us dependent on the inner worlds while they control everything else." "It gets worse," Mordek said. He brought up shipping reports. "Trade routes through the outer systems are becoming hazardous. Ships that try to take the old paths through the radiation fields just disappear. But ships that stick to the safe inner routes are being charged massive fees to pass through human-controlled space." "The humans control space now?" "Not officially. But try sending a ship through any region marked as a dead zone and see what happens. If you're lucky, you just lose contact. If you are unlucky, your ship gets returned to you as scrap metal with a bill for navigation assistance." Zexai was beginning to understand the scope of what was happening. For 5 years, the Council had ignored the humans, assuming they would either die in the dead zones or come crawling back. Instead, the humans had quietly taken control of vast regions of space that the Council had never bothered to claim. "What about the Council's response?" Zexai asked. Mordek's expression grew even more grim. "The High Council called an emergency session yesterday. They want to send a negotiation team to human space to discuss new trade agreements." "Negotiation?" Zexai could not believe what he was hearing. 5 years ago we threw them out like criminals. Now we want to negotiate? "The economy is collapsing," Mordek explained. "Half the materials we need to maintain our technology come from regions that are now under human control. The alternative energy sources we relied on are all in the dead zones. We need what they have." Before Zexai could respond, an alarm began blaring throughout the command center. His communications officer looked up from her station with wide eyes. "Admiral, we have an incoming transmission. Source unknown, but the signal is coming from inside our own system." "Inside our system?" Zexai frowned. "That is impossible. We would have detected any ships entering Zephyrian space." The officer shook her head. "No ships detected, sir. The signal appears to be coming from the radiation storm around our outer gas giant, the one marked as uninhabitable." Zexai felt that cold fear again. No one could survive in that radiation storm. It was one of the most dangerous places in the Zephyrian system. "Put the transmission on screen," he ordered. The display flickered and showed a human woman sitting in what appeared to be a comfortable chair. Behind her, through a window, Zexai could see the swirling clouds of the gas giant. She was somehow living inside the radiation storm that would kill any Zephyrian instantly. "Greetings, Admiral Zexai," the woman said. Her voice was calm and friendly, but there was something different about her appearance. Her skin had a faint glow, and her eyes reflected light like an animal's. My name is Elena Vasquez. I believe we have met before. Zexai remembered her. She was the human ambassador who had been expelled from the council 5 years ago. But she looked different now, stronger, more dangerous. What do you want? He asked. To talk, Elena replied. You see, Admiral, humans have been thinking about the past 5 years. We have learned many interesting things living in the places you consider uninhabitable. Elena stood up and walked to her window. Behind her, Zexai could see structures that should not exist. Cities floating in the gas giant's atmosphere, powered by the radiation that would kill any council species. We have learned that the galaxy is much larger than the council ever imagined, Elena continued. There are entire civilizations living in regions you marked as dead space. Species that have been isolated for millennia because no one else could reach them. She turned back to face the camera. But humans can reach them. We can trade with them. We can bring them technology and resources that they have never seen before. Zexai was beginning to understand what she was telling him. The humans had not just survived their exile. They had discovered a hidden galaxy that the Council never knew existed. We control access to the largest untapped resource base in galactic history, Elena said. Rare elements that exist only in high-radiation environments. Energy sources that can only be harvested during stellar storms. Technologies developed by species that evolved in conditions you cannot imagine. The implications hit Zexai like a physical blow. The Council had spent thousands of years believing they controlled the important parts of the galaxy. But they had only controlled the small, safe parts. The humans now controlled everything else. What are you proposing? He asked. Elena smiled. And there was something predatory in that expression. Simple? Recognize human sovereignty over all worlds that the Council classifies as uninhabitable. In exchange, we will trade with Council species and provide safe passage through the regions. We control, and if we refuse, then you can try to maintain your civilization without access to 90% of the galaxy's resources. Elena's smile grew wider. Good luck with that. The transmission ended, leaving the command center in stunned silence. Zexai stared at the empty screen, his mind reeling from what he had just heard. Sir, his aide said quietly, we are receiving similar transmissions from other council worlds. The humans are making the same offer to everyone. Zexai closed his eyes. 5 years ago, the council had believed they were punishing humanity by throwing them out. Now he realized they had made the worst mistake in galactic history. They had forced the most adaptable species in the galaxy to evolve beyond all limits. Sir, the communications officer called out, we are receiving reports of a massive fleet moving toward council space. Thousands of ships, all of unknown design? The hulls appear to be absorbing energy from the local star. Sir, they are literally feeding off solar radiation as they travel. Zexai opened his eyes and looked at the tactical display. The human fleet was unlike anything in council records. The ships seemed to flow like living things, their hulls pulsing with absorbed energy. They moved through radiation fields that would destroy any council vessel. How long until they reached the core worlds? He asked. At their current speed, 18 hours, 18 hours to decide the fate of the Galactic Council. Zexai looked around his command center at the faces of his officers. They all knew what those 18 hours meant. The age of council dominance was over. The age of humanity had begun. Send a message to the High Council, Zexai ordered. Tell them to prepare for negotiations. And tell them to prepare for a very different galaxy than the one we thought we knew. The combined fleet of the Galactic Council was the largest military force ever assembled. 12,000 ships from 47 different species filled the space near the border of the dead zones. Each vessel carried weapons that could crack planets and shields that could stop stars. Fleet Admiral Kethver of the Altarian Republic stood on the bridge of the massive dreadnought Harmony's Light. Around him, holographic displays showed the positions of ships from every council species. The Zephyrian battle cruisers hung like silver daggers in space. The Verdani bioships pulsed with living light. The crystal beings of the Nexus cluster had brought geometric vessels that hurt to look at directly. "All ships report ready for combat," announced the fleet's tactical officer. "We have enough firepower to sterilize 100 worlds." Kethver nodded grimly. The Council had spent 6 months preparing for this moment. They had studied every piece of intelligence about human activities. In the dead zones, they had built new weapons designed to work in high-radiation environments. They had trained their crews to fight in conditions that would normally kill them. The plan was simple: destroy the human colonies in the dead zones, force the survivors to surrender, return the galaxy to the way it was before humans started changing. "Everything. Sensors are detecting activity in the target zone," the science officer reported. "Multiple structures on the first planet. Population appears to be in the millions." Kethver looked at the main display. Kepler 438b filled the screen, its surface racked by constant electrical storms. Through the chaos, he could see the glow of human cities built deep underground. It looked peaceful, harmless. "Sir," the communications officer called out, "we are receiving a transmission from the planet. Put it through." The screen flickered and Elena Vasquez appeared. She looked completely calm, as if 12,000 warships pointing at her world was nothing to worry about. Behind her, Kethver could see other humans working at various stations. None of them seemed concerned about the massive fleet that had come to destroy them. "Fleet Admiral Kethver," Elena said with a polite smile, "welcome to New Sparta. I hope you enjoy your visit." "Surrender immediately," Kethver demanded. "You are vastly outnumbered. This fleet has enough firepower to destroy your entire colony." "Oh, I am sure it does," Elena agreed. "Your ships are very impressive. The Council must have spent enormous amounts of money building this fleet." Kethver frowned. She was supposed to be afraid. She was supposed to beg for mercy or try to negotiate. Instead, she seemed almost amused. "You have 30 minutes to evacuate all civilians," he announced. "After that, we will begin bombardment." "That is very generous of you," Elena said. "But I think there might be a small problem with your plan." "What problem?" Elena gestured to something off-screen. "Well, you see, you are not exactly alone out there." The tactical displays around Kethver began lighting up with new contacts. Ships were emerging from the radiation storms that surrounded the planet, but these were not normal ships. They glowed with absorbed energy, their hulls rippling like liquid metal. Some appeared to be made entirely of crystallized radiation. Others looked like they were part machine and part living creature. "What are those?" the tactical officer whispered. "Human ships," Elena explained helpfully. "We have gotten very good at building them over the past 5 years. These particular vessels are designed to operate in stellar radiation fields. They can absorb energy from stars and use it to power their weapons and shields." More ships kept appearing. They came out of the planet's storm systems, rose from the radiation clouds around the local star, and materialized from electromagnetic fields that should have been empty space. Within minutes, the human fleet outnumbered the Council Force 3-1. "Impossible," Kethver breathed. "Our intelligence report said you had maybe a few hundred ships." "Your intelligence was based on ships that look like yours," Elena said. "We stopped building those kinds of ships years ago. Why would we need metal hulls and fusion engines when we can grow ships that eat radiation and swim through gravity wells?" The human vessels began moving in ways that defied physics. Some flew directly into the local star's corona and emerged glowing brighter than before. Others dove into the planet's magnetic field and used it to accelerate to impossible speeds. A few simply vanished and reappeared behind the Council fleet. "Sir," the science officer reported in a shaking voice, "the human ships are not following any known laws of space combat. They are using the local environment as a weapon." Kethver watched in horror as human ships began hurting asteroids with magnetic fields, turning chunks of space rock into guided missiles. Others were somehow controlling the lightning storms on the planet's surface, directing massive electrical discharges toward any council ship that came too close. Begin attack pattern Alpha, Kethver ordered. All ships open fire. The council fleet unleashed enough destructive power to destroy a solar system. Plasma beams, particle cannons, and antimatter torpedoes filled space with deadly energy. For a moment, the entire region blazed like a new star. When the light faded, the human ships were still there. Not only were they undamaged, they appeared to be stronger than before. "Sir," the tactical officer said in disbelief, "they absorbed our weapons fire. The energy from our attacks is powering their ships." Elena's voice came over the communications. "System again, thank you for the free energy boost. Our ship gardens were getting a bit hungry." "Ship gardens?" Kethver asked. "Oh yes, we grow our ships now instead of building them. Much more efficient. And they love eating the kind of energy your weapons produce." The human fleet began to move with coordinated precision. Instead of attacking the council ships directly, they started doing something much worse. They began to surround the fleet and cut off its escape routes. "Sir," the navigation officer called out, "we are detecting gravity anomalies throughout the system. The humans appear to be manipulating local space-time." Kethver looked at his displays and saw that it was true. The human ships were somehow bending gravity around themselves, creating artificial black holes and wormholes that trapped the council fleet in an ever-shrinking pocket of space. They are not just using the environment as a weapon, he realized. They are changing the environment itself. Some of the council ships tried to retreat, but they found their path blocked by walls of crystallized radiation that the humans had somehow created. Others attempted to use their faster-than-light drives, only to discover that the local space had been altered so that normal physics no longer applied. "Admiral," Elena's voice came through the speakers again, "I think we need to have a serious conversation." The main screen showed Elena standing in what appeared to be a garden. Behind her, Kethver could see trees growing in soil that glowed with soft radiation. In the distance, human children played in pools of liquid energy that would have killed any council species instantly. "This is what we have built," Elena said, gesturing to the impossible scene behind her. "Cities that thrive in radiation storms, farms that grow food from pure energy, children who swim in liquefied starlight. We have become something new." She turned to face the camera directly. "5 years ago, you threw us out because we would not follow your rules. You said we were too primitive, too violent, too dangerous for civilized society." Elena smiled, and in that smile, Kethver saw something that made his blood freeze. It was not cruelty or anger, it was pity. "But your rules were never meant for a species like us," she continued. "Your rules were designed for beings who live on safe worlds with gentle suns and peaceful skies. We came from a world that tried to kill us every single day. We learned to make weapons from rocks and fire. We learned to eat poison and breathe smoke. We learned that the universe does not care about your rules." The human fleet tightened its formation around the council ships. Kethver realized that his mighty armada was now completely helpless. They could not fight, could not flee, and could not call for help, so we wrote new rules, Elena said. "Rules for beings who can swim in the heart of a star. Rules for species who make their homes in the places where normal life cannot exist. Rules for creatures who have learned that the only law in the universe is adapt or die." She leaned forward slightly. "Your civilization is very impressive, Admiral. You have built beautiful cities and created wonderful art. You have achieved peace and prosperity across hundreds of worlds. But you have also made yourselves weak. You cannot survive outside your perfect, controlled environments." Kethver knew she was right. The council species had evolved past the need for hardship. They had eliminated disease, violence, and environmental challenges from their worlds. In doing so, they had also eliminated their ability to adapt to new threats. "We are not here to destroy you," Elena continued. "We are here to offer you a choice. You can continue to live in your safe, small corner of the galaxy. You can keep your perfect worlds and your comfortable lives. But you will acknowledge that the rest of the galaxy belongs to those who are strong enough to claim it. The screen changed to show a map of the galaxy. The areas controlled by the Council were marked in blue. They formed a small cluster of systems. Around the galactic center, everything else was marked in red. "The dead zones are ours now," Elena announced. "Every world, you